restart our recording here. So welcome. This is our fourth webinar training. Can you believe it? We are almost done with these. We have one more left, and that will be towards the end of April. That's on world languages. I am also joined here today by our guest presenter, product specialist, Kimberly Caldwell. Kimberly, would you like to say hello really quickly?
Hello, everyone.
Take herself off mute. There we go. And also on our webinar today, we have Vanessa Parada, who's our Executive Marketing Manager. So as you have any questions, feel free to utilize that chat panel. If you don't know where it's at, that's in your lower right-hand corner of your page. And if we have any marketing and sales-based questions, hopefully Vanessa can help us out with those. And if you do have any questions today that for some reason we can't answer, we will, of course, follow up with the answers to those. So as I mentioned, I know we have a lot to cover, so let's go get started. I'm going to share my desktop. Actually, let me take this ball back from you for a moment, Kimberly, and then I can share my desktop. And I'll go ahead and pass it back. Okay. So I thought it would be nice to begin with a little game. This is called the name game. Go ahead. What you want to do is guess who the people are in this photo. Don't yell it out. I want you to type their first and last names into the chat panel. So go ahead and type their first and last name into the chat panel. And you'll have to type your entire response at once to win. And I'll go ahead and go back and show you that. We can see what everyone's responses are. And open up that chat panel. So first and last names. Whoever you know, it doesn't have to be completely accurate spelling.
Jenny, this is Vanessa. Can I play?
You cannot. No NGL people. But I know you would get this right away. For a Starbucks gift card, go ahead and type your responses into the chat panel on that right-hand side of the page. Okay, and make sure, okay, good. I see some just privately to me. You can go ahead and respond privately. Lori, I see, Ed Rock, okay. Still waiting. Take some guesses, guys, even if the spelling's off. Everybody knows who I am, so I guess that's good. And Denise, someone was able to find out who Denise is. If you focus on reading, you definitely know this woman right here. If your focus is on English language learners, hint, hint, you definitely know this person right here. Oh, God, you're hilarious, Kimberly. Oh, my, I'm surprised. Nobody's getting this. All right, I'll give you a minute more. And then I think I'm going to have Vanessa answer for us. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, someone said I'm still kind of new. It's okay to be new. Just, I mean, now is the time to toss out some names. All right, let's see. Here. Okay, so I'm going to let Vanessa take this one away then. Vanessa, who are these people in this photo?
These are Reach for Reading and Panorama authors. Jennifer Turner is in the all-black suit next to Jenny, and then Deborah Short, who is our ESL/guru, who is also the co-creator of the PSYOP model, and then Sylvia Lennon Thompson, who is also ESL Spanish, early childhood, and then Nancy Fry, who is pretty much everything.
she is. She's just, they're all amazing. She's definitely especially amazing. And then we have Denise Detmar right here on the right-hand side. So the good news is you know who I am. Most of you knew who Denise was, so that's great. But these are also definitely people that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with. There are two authors that are missing from this photograph, Noni Lasso, and then we also have Lotta Krotke. So those two folks had to leave for the airport before we took this photo. So as Vanessa mentioned, why did I have you guess the names of these people? Because they are all Panorama authors, and they are also Reach for Reading authors for us. Beyond this, what we'll be looking at today is Panorama, what's in the works as far as videos. And then our product specialist on the line, Kimberly Caldwell, will be walking us through Panorama Science, both the print and the digital. So the photo I showed you, like I mentioned, was taken about 2 Fridays ago. Those were the author videos that you see my arrow pointing to right here. I was able to, along with Denise Detmar, interview each of the authors. So we now have author videos. And if you can go ahead and mute yourself, if you haven't done so already, thank you. We were able to interview these authors in our office, so we now have author videos on everything from differentiated instruction to why teach reading and content together to even a video on close reading. And as you can imagine, these are some fabulous resources for us to have. These are experts in the field, as Vanessa mentioned. And then we also have our Panorama professional development videos that I've been out filming. These are going to be shown right at point of use. I'm so excited about these. So teachers will be able to click on a routine, for example, when they see it in our digital book, and be able to immediately be taken to that routine being done in the classroom. They'll be able to see a video right at point of use. So these are just so awesome for us to be able to have. Right now we do have a vocabulary routine video and a roundtable discussion video. There will be more to come, more videos to come. Our reps are still getting up to speed with setting up some Panorama pilot sites. I know Vanessa's also working very hard on getting those pilot sites set up, and with that we'll have more Panorama videos. But the goal here is really to have that point of use approach, and also for all of you to be able to pull the use of these videos in during trainings. And last but not least, we also have our Explorer videos, which are all complete, and those are a part of the program. Those are embedded into the program. So a lot of exciting stuff here. And with that said, I will go ahead and pass the ball to Kimberly Caldwell, and she'll tell you a bit more about Panorama and give you an introduction to it.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Jenny. And everybody, well, I'm assuming you can hear me okay. If you can't, you'll let me know because you're muted. I'm going to share my desktop and go on straight to the PowerPoint presentation. And I will tell you that I put the PowerPoint presentation together for, of course, training youth, so their training notes and all that. I'm not going to spend time to show you all of the notes. You'll see them when, if and when you decide you want to get certified to train Panorama. But in the meantime, I'll just overview the print resources, and then we'll switch to the digital so you can see what those look like as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. And like I said, I'm just going through all the background real quick. So with Panorama Science, there is a sample bag. And the sample bag will contain a TE sampler, 2 different titles, a fiction and a nonfiction, an overview brochure, and a literature brochure. And so many of the points that I took out to make the PowerPoint came from the sample bag because that's all we have at this point, because of course it is still new. As far as outcomes for the training, I will explain all the program components, and then we'll look at the instructional design. Differentiated instruction is built in a little differently than what we've seen before in other products that we have, but it's so fascinating. So you'll be very excited. a lot of interactive things going on. Digital is very critical for Panorama because you can actually teach and run Panorama without any print at all, which is kind of like exploring science on steroids in a good way, because when you have exploring science with literacy, you have to have the literacy titles in front of you, for those of you who are familiar with exploring science and literacy. But with Panorama, science, the literacy components are also online. So beautiful, beautiful resource. One thing to know about Panorama Science is going to be important to the districts that we serve. It covers all Common Core State Standard reading, literature, and informational text standards, which is just a sliver of all of the Common Core reading standards, but it also covers all of the Next Generation Science Standards, DCI, the disciplinary core ideas, and that's critical. And we'll look at the different packaging options and different options that they'll have to use for implementation, and NGSS DCIs really come into play for those campuses right now that are still milling over what do we do for science and what do we do for science. And so this is going to be one of those solutions for many of those districts. As for student materials, all of the student materials are in print, and also the same ones are online. The digital versions, of course, include more content and also interactivity. There's even differentiated versions of the print for grades 3 through 5 online. So if you have a student that needs additional assistance with the readability of the print, the digital resource is going to provide it for them. There are 24 to 30 texts per grade level. Right now, the module for the PowerPoint as well as the sample bag is focusing on grade 3. So we'll kind of be talking about grade 3 today. The texts are grouped by life, earth, and physical science, so all three strands are addressed. And the authentic fiction is in English, and it is mirrored in Spanish. So English and Spanish options are available, and it serves grades K through 6. The Spanish titles, like I said before, are the exact same as the English titles, but of course in Spanish. They are also embedded in a digital format as well. And as I said before, modified text is available online for grades 3 through 6. So for those students that need a simplified version of the print, they can click on a button and it appears for them. And everything is pre-recorded. It's, if you're familiar with Reach for Reading or Reach, it doesn't have the beautiful sounding language of the authenticity of the culture in which the story comes from that we find in Reach and Reach for Reading, but it's still not robotic. But the resources that you'll see when we go to digital for the Read Aloud is spectacular because, of course, it's on NGL Sync and MindTap and all of that good stuff. And the National Geographic
Can I break in for 1 second? You are correct about that at grades 3 through 6 at K2. They're real people.
Okay, yes, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute. I'm glad you said that. All right, and so for the National Geographic nonfiction, like I said, the company produces those nonfiction titles. And we'll talk about K2 in just a minute because it's a little bit nuances different for K2. As for the digital resources for the students, it's audio, all the selections. So for every title, everything that there is to be read, the students have an option to listen to it being read aloud. For those of you familiar with our reading products, like I said before, Reach for Reading and Reach, whenever there are words that are difficult for students to maybe attend to because they're multiple meaning words or idioms, things like that, there's always, in other words, at the bottom of the page. And for Panorama, they click and it appears. It's beautiful. But the challenging words and the idiomatic phrases are defined in context for students who struggle with print like that. And then the teachers also have a script of those same words and the in other words that they can print out. So if a student needs to have that like right in front of them as opposed to just that point of reference, they have that option as well. The students can listen to and see and read the keywords and the definitions at point of reference. And as I said before, it's powered through MindTap through NGL Sync. And for those of you who are very comfortable with IMG Connect, like I was, and thought I don't know, learning new platforms. For Panorama Science, it made me a believer because it is very easy to navigate, and everything is literally at the fingertips of the student and the teacher. For K2, as was said before, the readings are more friendly for the students, real readers, as well as the pattern readers are aligned to each book in kindergarten through grade 2, so they'll see those patterns. Once again, still targeting those 3 strands of science, so there's no difference as far as physical life and earth science that we still target for K2 as well as for grades 3, 6. So those are the print and the digital resources, and as for all of the titles are also embedded in digital format, so they can literally make a choice to just do it all digital or a combination of print and digital, but there are way more resources online than there are in print, especially for the teacher. There's also an interactive work text, so many people refer to them as workbooks or practice books. So it does exist in print, but who would want print when in the digital format the students interact with it? They type in their responses. If it's a graphic organizer, if it's fill in the blank, whatever it is, they actually physically do it at that point. So it is, like I said, it's a beautiful piece of work. With the interactive work text, the students are able to not only respond digitally, but the teachers get the feedback as well. So they see it through their grade book system, and they can keep track of what the students are doing. So kind of like Miami Connect, where now with Reach for Reading, they can interact with the practice book pages, but with Reach for Reading, they have to actually physically save it or send it. With this interactive work text, the teacher has full access to it immediately. We, of course, have building background videos, and the big difference with these building background videos, they're all National Geographic employees, they're explorers and scientists that are sharing information. So just like videos we've always loved before from National Geographic, Engage, these take it up a notch, and it's almost like watching the National Geographic channel and listening to the explorers and scientists. So every unit will have, of course, the building background video. My vocabulary notebook, for those of you who've been around, everything that you wanted to be fixed about my vocabulary notebook is now what is in Panorama. The My Vocabulary Notebook is online, interactive. The students record and practice new words, and the teachers have access to them. So the teachers literally click on the name of the student, and they pull up their vocabulary notebook so they can actually see what the students have inputted and you know, if they're on the right track or what in the world is in there, because that has always been the main concern with my vocabulary notebook, is that when students do it, there's no tracking that has been built in, because if students use not so nice words, how do we know it's not in there, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So my vocabulary notebook is a great resource that the teachers are going to love, because they can monitor these personalized vocabulary notebooks that the students are doing. And of course, it's in digital format, which makes it easier, less time consuming as well. There are family newsletters that are going to be available. At the initial training and the onset, I did not hear anyone mention about languages or anything like that. So I'm not sure if it's going to be like, I'm assuming, because everything else is so grand, I'm assuming it's going to be like Reach for Reading family newsletters, in which they can choose whatever language of comfort fits best for that family, and they can pick it and read it accordingly. I'm assuming that, like I said, and I wouldn't doubt that that's the way it's going to be for Panorama.
Kimberly, this is Jenny. Let's tap into Vanessa, since we have her on the line, if she knows if it's going to be similar to Reach for Reading.
They're actually just going to be available in English and Spanish, and then there will be an option to have it translated into any language through Google Translate.
Great, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, so just like what they did for Reach for Reading, new version Reach for Reading, where they can just click on the link and pick the language that that they would prefer to be translated in. So very time saving for teachers and user friendly. Okay, so that's it for the student materials. Teacher materials. there is one teacher's guide per grade level. So for those of you, once again, familiar with our reading resources, where there are multiple teacher's guides for all the units and all of that, one teacher's guide in print. Of course, the teacher's guide that's in print is also available in the digital format. Now, there are more resources for the teachers and the teacher's guide online through the digital resource than in print, and once again, we'll take a look at that when we go live. And that's it for the teacher resource, because everything that they need for instruction is in that teacher's guide, okay? And then all the other resources, of course, are going to be online. And we'll talk about assessments in a little bit. So this is the layout of the Teacher's Edition, very similar to other products that we have for those of you who have been training other products, starting with the program authors going into genres at a glance. Then we focus on the reading skills and strategies, table of contents, the preview of the unit, and then it gets into the instruction and then with the assessment. So very direct, very consistent with everything else that we have. As far as the authors, if I could have put this up for you to cheat off of earlier, then you would have seen Dr. Short, Dr. Fry, and Dr. Thompson. But so the authors of Reach for Reading, authors for Reach, these are authors that we know with other products that we have, and here they are once again lending their expertise. And then we also have explorers. What I love about Panorama, and I don't know if they did it on purpose because I didn't get a chance to ask anyone, so many female explorers in science, and it's so critical because with the STEM push for girls getting involved with science and technology, for them to see young women in the field already doing these amazing things, I think is so critical. So teachers, fall in love with that. Genres at a glance, as far as the genres are concerned, as I said before, you have the National Geographic exclusives that are always going to be identified by the golden rectangle, and then you have the authentic literature as well. With the genres at a glance, it's a beautiful two-page spread. It gives all of the titles. It gives the type of text it is. It gives not only the lexile reading level, which we've become very familiar with other products, but it gives the guided reading level, and it also gives the text complexity right there on the genres at a glance page. So you don't have to have teachers turn to the back of the book or look somewhere else. It's all right there in one place. So very, very user-friendly. Also, reading skills and strategies. Because Panorama Science is teaching reading strategies and comprehension through science content, reading skills and strategies are going to be an integral part of what's going on in the units for instruction. There are many lessons for every single reading skill, and the reading lessons, of course, are in print in the teacher's guide. But what I love about the digital, they're at point of reference within the instruction and the digital piece. So when the teacher comes to drawing conclusions, mini lessons, they just click on the words and the lesson pops up. So they don't have to do what we traditionally do with MyConnect. You open up a lot of windows, or you do an online lesson planner and pick out the things. You don't have to go to different windows to pull all these resources together. Everything literally is at point of reference on that page within the instructional path. You click on the words and the lesson opens up. And the resources are there. Once again, very, very beautifully done. The table of contents incorporates, like I said before, all three strands of science, your earth, your life, and your physical, and it's laid out which titles correspond to the actual strands of science. And the thing that's a little different, like with exploring science with literacy, the literacy titles are differentiated so the students that are not reading on grade level can read independently on a lower lexile and all those things. With the titles that coincide with Panorama Science, they're all on grade level. Differentiation is not by product, but it's by instruction, it's by the process. Because there's so many different ways to differentiate, we're not differentiating the text, we're differentiating the instruction, which is online. So it's I'll show you once again. Point of reference, I promise, is going to be beautiful. We're going to click on a button and you'll see the differentiation. This unit preview, it reminds me of like the unit opener in Reach for Reading or Reach program, where it just overviews what's going on in the unit. The spread right here to me is a game changer, because if you have districts that are milling about, how do we use it, what we use it for, where would it fit? This page alone shows me that I can either use this to teach reading comprehension, or I can also use it to teach, prep my students for science. So I see the titles of the books, I see the lexile levels, the guided reading levels, I see the vocabulary words that the students are going to be held accountable for, I see all of the reading skills and strategies, I see the text complexity, I also have my close readings, and I see my right to sources. So in one shot deal, I see everything that's going to be covered in that unit. The units in Panorama Science are not codependent of one another. So it's not like with our reading resources where many of the skills are prerequisites for other skills. So if you go out of order in a unit, then you're going to be in total discourse because the students won't know particular skills because you skipped that unit. With Panorama Science, it is so flexible that the teachers can literally look at what reading skills or strategies they need to hone in on because the students are failing miserably or struggling with these particular skills, and just teach that lesson. Or if they have a particular strand in science or a DCI that the students are struggling with and need some more background information, they can literally pick it up and make selections that way. So once again, flexibility beyond belief of anything that I've seen that we actually have out there. Check marks, white checks and red boxes, very consistent with all of our other products. Tested skills. So tested skills are always referenced for the teachers so they know up front. If you're using our assessments, which are also e-assessments, which we're accustomed to as well, then those white check marks and red boxes are what you need to make sure you attend to. Our instructional pad, Panorama Science, is very similar to instructional pads for just best practices, good teaching, and pretty much every other product that we have. Get Ready is actually where the teachers are going to spend a couple of weeks establishing routines and teaching key skills. So a lot of building background, a lot of just taking care of all the nitty-gritty, so to speak, before they get into the actual instruction of the DCI, the reading strategy, and all of those other things, and getting into the book. So Getting Ready is where we start, and then we get to the introducing phase where they're going to actually teach the science concepts, the vocabulary, the reading skills, and the reading strategies. Then they get into the reading and analyzing, and that goes along with, of course, the text that is paired up with the units of instruction, and everything is laid out. It is scripted, and scaffolded questions are there. So if you need something for an EL student, if you need something for a special ed learner, if you need something for a student who is gifted and talented, all those differentiated options are built in to the digital format of the teacher's guide, and it's a matter of clicking or selecting buttons, and everything is right there pre-populated for the teachers. After they get through with the instruction, then they do a reread with close reading, so the students get to understand how to analyze those complex passages and get into deeper understanding. And for teachers or districts that choose this for reading strategy or reading intervention, I think that's going to be a big selling factor for them, is the fact that we do have those close readings that were added, of course, to Reach for Reading and other resources after we changed standards. The integration of information is where the students are going to have collaborative discussions and writing from sources, which once again becomes very important to a reading English teacher, making sure that the writing works in conjunction with what they're reading. Collaborative discussions are actually embedded throughout the entire unit, and you'll see a lot of familiar cooperative learning structures built in order to promote academic discourse, language frames. So you'll see a lot of those things that are from really good and that we love to use in our reading resources as well. And then, of course, we wrap up with assessments. And with the assessments, the formal assessments assess vocabulary. We have fluency assessments and reading comprehension. And as I said before, there are assessments. If the teachers want to do them in print, they can, of course, do them in print. But e-assessment is a newer, better version of e-assessment where the students take the assessments, of course, online, and then it's scored for the teachers and give the teachers the grades in the grade book. Basically, it's already populated. If they have another grade book system, then it can also bleed into that in different ways. So we won't go into all those nitty-gritty details when we go online, but I'll show you, of course, all those resources. This is what instruction basically looks like in a unit, and this is a page from the teacher's edition. Once again, it follows the flow. Those of you who decide that you want to try to tackle training Panorama Science, it is very fluid with what we do with reading resources as well as social studies and science, with the big questions and looking at everything just really being scripted and laid out in a beautiful way for the teacher, including the icons to let them know when something is available in print, whether it's available online, and whether it's a tested skill. All of that is right there for the teachers as well. And then, of course, those standards are right there embedded on the page. And so the unit openers where the big building background video gets incorporated into it, and then they have the overview and an overview of everything. They do provide suggesting pacing, and they say, you know, on this day you can read these pages of the book, and these are the activities you will do. So you don't have an online lesson planner to say, because once again, we're not dictating that they have to teach in order or they have to teach so many units or so many pieces. If they just want to teach life science, they can pick out all the life science lessons. So because of the flexibility of the nature of Panorama Science, we don't structure it with the online lesson planner like we do other resources. They do have suggested planning, suggested pacing there that will help with their planning if they need it. Other things with instruction, we target before, during, and after reading, which once again, if there's a teacher that is teaching reading and using this for reading purposes more so than science, they're going to love to see that consistency with best practices. And professional learning opportunities. Jenny mentioned this a little bit earlier about the videos that she's been recording to see teachers in action using Panorama. At point of reference, when they're online in the teacher's guide, if they want to see an example of how you do this, they just click on it and it pops up. So they don't have to go to another link to click on professional development and see on-demand modules or anything like that. It's right there embedded in the print at point of reference. So they don't have to guess, do we have this resource? It is literally right there. And everything is integrated into the system in that way. So once again, it exists in print to tell them that it's there, but if you're online in the actual teacher's edition, you don't have to worry about reading a source and going to another because it's right there. As far as differentiation, I mentioned it a little bit, but the way differentiation instruction works for Panorama Science, once again, differentiation is not by the lexile levels of the titles of all of the readers. All of those authentic literature and the National Geographic exclusives, they're all on grade levels. So they're in a range, because lexiles, of course, are a range of numbers within that grade level. So you'll see a range of numbers, but they will be consistent with that particular targeted grade level. So if I'm in third grade, which this PowerPoint is based on, everything will be third grade level that the students will be using. So differentiation comes by way of instruction. That's where the teacher must use digital resource because it is not in the print version of the teacher's edition. They literally will click on the filter question for the level that they want to target. So if they are working with on-level students, then they can deselect all the other levels and just see what's appropriate for on-level. If they're working with a below-level student, for example, maybe a student who is a special needs learner, they can deselect all the other ones and choose just that one. What if they have all students mixed in all together, which is very commonplace? Then they select all the ones they want, and then it would filter all of those questions at one time. So in our initial training, I know we did ask, what if we have schools that, you know, the digital resources are not, you know, optimal? You know, some districts just are kind of antiquated with their technology. It is going to be printable, so they are going to make it where they can actually print it out. If they need to carry it around so they can, you know, sit with a group of students and ask those questions, they get pre-populated. But when I show it to you online, you will think that, you know, just an iPad or, you know, something that's mobile and go for it. But once again, not all districts are created equally when it comes to technology. But so printing the differentiated instruction will be an option. They did let us know that. The unit wrap-ups are very familiar to anyone who's been training and has used the wrap-up before, where we come back to the big questions. We use the academic discourse to talk about what we've learned, the concept webs. The concept webs are embedded in a digital format with all the other interactive work text, where the students are able to type in responses as they're learning and just keep track of it ongoing. So once again, it really can run as a digital resource without any print if a district elects to do so. There are always multiple writing opportunities, so even though we do write to source, there are different ways the students can do it. So they always have multiple options, and teachers will love the fact that that's already done for them. And then, of course, there are all kinds of assessments that I talked about before, and we're getting ready to transition to assessments now. There is an assessment handbook in print, which of course is also online, and as I mentioned before, via e-assessments where the students can actually, you know, take all the assessments online. All the assessments are contained in one handbook per grade level, so everything is in one. So the teacher literally, if they're going to use print, they have one teacher's edition per grade level and one assessment handbook per grade level, and that's it. Unless they decide to buy all those titles, and once again, that's for student use. Okay, so there are assessments for keywords, which is vocabulary. There are assessments for reading skills and strategies. And then they also have assessments for the students. So every time the students are learning material, they assess themselves, and that's a big part of Panorama, holding the kids accountable for what they're learning as well. They do have oral reading fluency tests and passages built in. They are online where the students can actually attend to the passage online, and then they also have the audio if they needed to hear them being read. And just like with any e-assessment, they always have online reports that will be available to them because, once again, it will do all the grading for them, and then they'll have the reports generated as well. I did create a unit exploration because, as you can see with Panorama training, literally it can be done within an hour. And then you go online and show them resources and things like that. So Panorama Science is not a full day training, and to stretch it to a half day, you would have to do something like an exploration or have them go online. Right now, all of the components are not active and live on the digital platform. So as far as training, you may be a little limited for some things. So, you know, you'll definitely talk with your sales rep before going out to make sure what it is that they want. But right now, I just have access to third grade. So I know eventually it'll be up and going and running, but for right now, you're a little limited. So you will have to add in things like this. So I won't spend time there. Now, as far as the flexible options, districts can purchase and use Panorama Science as a core reading comprehension program or to supplement a core reading program they already have. For example, I know in Massachusetts, I was talking to a sales rep there. They have Reach for Reading all over Massachusetts, but they have several districts that are looking for something else to go with it for RTI or that intervention time, and so they're looking at Panorama Science, small group reading, as well as a foundation for science instruction. So it is very flexible in the nature, but it is not a core program. Because
and Kimberly, hi, this is Jenny. I'm just going to jump in for a minute. I know that Nikki wanted to jump in and has something to say.
Yes. Hi, everyone, and Kimberly, great job covering our brand new program. I do just want to clarify, I want to make sure you guys see what Kimberly said. It says core reading comprehension. It does not say core reading. So you'll see when you see the program that it's, it's not comprehensive enough. It doesn't have phonics instruction. It doesn't have all comprehensive writing piece that you would need for a core reading program. But I just want to make sure that I think for future reference, we want to remove the word core from our vocabulary when we're talking about this. But just keep that in mind that under no circumstances would a teacher say that to you guys that this is a core reading program. They should not. If they do, they're having trouble teaching reading. So I just wanted to share that and make sure we got that. That the core jumped out at me. So it's something we've been talking about in the sales field as well. So just keep that in mind.
Definitely, and I want to, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Nikki, because I want to go back to this slide that was early on, and that's the reason why I put it up there front and center. And we probably will, and we do at the end when I have 2 slides that kind of review everything. I stress it once again. It covers all Common Core state standards for reading, literature, and informational text standards only. So that is a small sliver of the millions of Common Core state standards for reading. So that way they know up front we're not trying to sell it, push it, or advertise it as, oh, you only have to do this, and all your kids are going to learn how to read, when definitely not the case. Okay. All right. Now, I'm starting to wrap up the print and then show you the beautifulness of the digital. So as far as pacing, 32 weeks of instruction, 6 5-week units per grade level, plus that 1 2-week get ready unit per grade level. So that's how you get the total of 32 weeks of instruction. Okay, and that's per grade level. Each lesson can be anywhere from approximately 1 to 2 hours. And I had to do a presentation for this at a conference, I forgot where I was, a couple weeks ago. And one of the teachers said for intervention they have 30 minutes. And she said, could it be done in 30 minutes? And of course, she would never tell someone no. And so, of course, I told her yes, but then I had to prove to her how, and I showed her how you can break it down. So even though it says 1 to 2 hours, that's the reason why approximately is there, because of the fact that, remember, very flexible in nature as far as, what needs they have, but fully customizable to meet, the needs of the teacher. So that's what Panorama looks like all together. Okay? All right. So this, like I said, this in conclusion will be added in here, once again covering that it only covers the literature and informational text, the DCI, as well as the other highlights about Panorama. So it just kind of wraps it up. So now what we're going to do is go online. So are there any questions about print as I transition to the online digital resources?
And this is Jenny. As a reminder, if you do have any questions, I don't see any in the chat panel right now, but definitely please feel free to go back to that chat panel, or you can jump in at any point as well.
All right. We have the GT group today. They don't have any questions. So, all right. So I'm going to sign into NGL Sync. And like I said, initially I was scared of it because I'm a MyNG Connect kind of person. I know it backwards and forwards, but it's beautiful. You'll love it. Now, at the end, I'm sure they'll address when you guys will have access to play around and stuff. But right now, like I said, it's not fully ready. So,
well, and actually, this is Nikki. I'm sorry we haven't kept you in the loop, Kimberly. I'm sending Jenny a message right now that she will send out directions for all of you on how to add this content. It's all live now. It is glitchy in some places, so I want to say that right now. You can let us know what you find, but don't freak out if something doesn't work right away. But all the content K through 6 is live for English, and we will send you the directions and reminders on how to add that content to your NGL Sync account. So
Yay, that is very exciting. Yay. All right. So this is the home page. Like I said, I have access to grade 3, so here's a grade 3 cover right here. And in the band across the top will be all of your controls. To the left of the National Geographic rectangle, if you click there, that will open up your table of contents. So if you ever want a full page view of anything, you can always click on it in order to get that full page view. That's one way. So you have your instructional routines, just like instructional routines and strategies for most of our products that we have. So if you click on any of these are live links, and it will show you the instructional routines and strategies. Get ready. Remember those 2 weeks of introducing students to the skills and the routines and getting them ready for instruction. And then it goes into all of the different units that are available. So by clicking on the unit, then you see the unit opener, the different titles that correlate, and the unit wrap-up. So you only get to what's available for the units by actually clicking on the unit, and you'll see the titles. For those of you who train exploring science with literacy or have used tricks, traps, tools, so you'll see some familiar titles that we use with other resources, other products. So once again, a level of comfort for those of you who've been training all along. And for those of you new, since it's new, you have no fear, I'm assuming. And then for skills and strategies, when you click here, skills and strategies will take you to all of those reading strategy mini lessons that I talked about before. So this is one place that you can get access to them, but at point of reference in the teacher's guide within the script of the instructional pad, you can also click on the mini lessons as well. All right, so since you're going to get your own login, you'll be able to play around with it. Standards correlations are important because districts always want to know, well, how do I know for sure that it's covering NGSS standards, the DCI, the disciplinary core ideas? And then you just click on it, and then you go from there, and you basically they choose the code of what they're looking for, and it gives them full results of the title of the book, the topic of the strand of science, and it tells them where the standard is even being addressed. So once again, very, very beautiful way of looking at it, okay? So that's one issue, the standards correlations that are there, all right? Now, Hi Teacher, eventually it'll be your name, your login. When you click on the little grid, I'm sure it's an official word that they call it, but I just call it a grid, you see home, which will take us back to the home page where we were.
Just to start with, of course, because it's so overwhelming, is that just mainly some shrubbery, that will last a good while, a good number of years. Some small plants. I tend to go more perennials, not a whole lot of stuff, but
let me mute everybody.
My thought is got to have something. I was wondering on that.
It sounds like someone is on a phone call.
Muted.
Yeah, what I just did was I just muted everybody, because I think when you muted everybody and then you shared, when you passed the ball to me, it unmuted everybody. So I just muted everybody.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, so when you click on the grid, you get to the home page, assignments, grade book, vocabulary notebook. You can go to the student edition from here, or you can log out. Now, let me show you. When you go to the student edition in this format, you just switch right back to the teacher's edition. So that's another beautiful aha that in Mind You Connect, you can only look at one thing at a time, and it's just, so this is just beautiful. So I can go from the teacher's edition and go back to the student edition just without, any issue whatsoever. It's all right here. But I'm still in a teacher view. So I have to, if I want to act like or pretend to be a student, I would have to log out of the teacher view and log in as a student. But I can see what I have assigned to my students, because I did create assignments earlier. And when a student logs in, the assignments I create are right here. They're all linked. And they click to start it, and the assignment will pop up. Some of them work and some of them don't, like I said before. It just depends on what doesn't have to pitch right now. But I can go back to my home page again, by just navigating by using the grid, or I can also click on the house. When the students are in their view, if they remember the house, especially for younger students, it'll take them home. Resources over here with the golden arrow are only available when you open up a product or a device. So, for example, if I open up, let me go back to teacher view, and I'm going to open up a unit. I'll just click on this one. And then when I click on the word resources, nothing's there. But if I click on storm, which is a title of a resource, and then once again, some things are active and some aren't. So you notice when I clicked on an actual event or an activity or something related to instruction, then when I click on resources, then all the resources are pre-populated, and of course they're all live links, and I can click on that to minimize it. Once again, all my instruction is right here. I can also go to the student edition from here. I can maximize from here. I can progress by clicking on the arrows. So just like MindG Connect with the simplicities of navigating, you still have the simplicities of navigating, and many of the control functions look exactly the same. You also have where you can add notes, and you can bookmark pages as well. So once again, a lot of icons very similar to what you're already used to if you're familiar with MindG Connect. Now, this is where the differentiation takes place. Whenever you're in the instruction that's reading and analyzing, because that's where the reading comprehension takes place, that's where they will see the differentiated instruction. For example, right now, all 4 areas have been highlighted. So I see one specifically for EL, so let me deselect EL, and then you notice that it's gone. So depending on how many activities are on a given page, when I select whether it's EL, like for example right here, some activities are appropriate for all levels, so even if I deselect 3 of these, they still will all be there. And this is also where I talked about for the mini lessons, the graphic organizers, PDFs, keywords, everything is at point of reference. You just click on that blue link, and then the PDF pops up. So you don't have to go in and out, and the teachers are going to love this because of the fact that it's just easier to navigate because everything is right there on the page. Let me go to assignments, easy to navigate. You can differentiate between whether you want to assign a quiz, a reading activity, or a test, or you can select all. And since you're going to have your own login to play around, definitely play around and create some assignments. But I created some earlier. You just basically click on what it is that you want to assign, click on the word assign. After you click on the assignment, click on the word assign. You choose the start date, due date, whatever category it falls into, those 3 that I talked about earlier. And the teachers can control the number of attempts that the students have with the assignment. And I think that is very critical because if we're talking about using this for reading comprehension or reading intervention, we're talking students that may need a little bit more help because we need them reading on grade level and they still may be struggling, so they may need a little bit more assistance. They're getting differentiated instruction, so let's give them multiple opportunities. So they can choose unlimited or 1 through 5, and then when the students try again, they run out of options, then that's what's going to show up in the teacher's grade book. And right now the grade book is not activated on this one that I have, but once they take it, the score and the number of attempts and everything show up, and then of course you can click on it live to see what progress the students made. Vocabulary notebook, as I said before, I put in a word as a student, and so I'm checking on student's word. He put in splendid, and this is what he put. So I can actually check and see what the students are doing in the vocabulary notebook, and that is unheard of. I melted over that when I saw that. All right, so those are different resources. Now I want to go back to the student edition just to show you. I won't go through the building background videos and all of those things, But the library, we're used to our digital library. Their library is literally a library. The background video for the unit and the titles. So all of these are actual, books. So once again, like I said before, you do not have to have, oh, that was not working, of course. You don't have to have the print version of the book. You can actually just use digital because they will all be working for you. I know this one, so I'll click on this one. And you can click on.
Kimberly, if I can just jump in for just a second. We did have a question from the chat panel. Rebecca was wondering if the number of attempts can be different for a certain student.
Oh, yeah, you can, for every single assignment, the teacher controls the number of attempts. So even if they just assign, for example, an interactive work text, that's where the student is actually typing in responses, which, of course, I picked some bang-up ones for you guys today because they're, I did pick one that was working, forces and motions, I think. Let's try that one. I don't know. Yeah, this
and Kimberly, I have another login I can give you too.
Okay.
All the grades are there in the video works. I'll just send it over in the chat panel if you'd like to use that one. Let me know.
All right, awesome. So this is the interactive work text. I'm just typing in anything, but this is my response, and when I'm finished responding to everything, then as a student, I click on submit, and once I click on submit, then it goes to the teacher for, well, not the teacher for grading, but the teacher will see it. If it's something that can be graded like the assessment, then it will be graded for me and all those things. Remember, I'm in view as a teacher, not a student, so I have the capability to edit an assignment. So I gave them 3 numbers of attempts. What if I say, you know what, the student needs 5? So just like the question that was asked earlier, there is, you can control the number of attempts for every single solitary assignment, and you can even update it or change it as needed. So if the student had 3 attempts and failed all 3, a teacher can go back in and give them, some more, or they can just, ditch that assignment, give them another one, however they want to do it. So it's kind of up to them. The content connections is where you're going to see the DCI in action, and this is where you have, and for those of you who do exploring science, that would be the performance-based, or the, some teachers refer to them as labs. So this is where you'll see the interconnectivity to the science content through the content connection. And
click the text to hear it read aloud.
Okay, so I'm just going to close back. So this is how they turn on the sound. In MindZ Connect, it's always a blue sound symbol. In Panorama Science, it's actually a sound symbol that they have to turn on. And then once they turn it on, they just put their cursor over the text they want read. So the students have full control over what they want read orally and what they don't need help with, which, once again, that's kind of unbelievable in a sense as well, because I hadn't seen that before, because usually it just starts in the beginning and keeps going. I know that time is of the essence, so what I'm going to do is log out as a teacher and log in as a student, because I want you to see what the student's book is going to look like, and then also the options that they have for the audio. One of the things that I don't think I've ever seen before for audio is where it highlights over the text, but the students can control what color highlighting, whether it's going to highlight a whole word, whole sentence. So I instantly thought of special needs learners and struggling students who are students who are dyslexic that need color overlays and things like that. And I was like, man, this is going to be something for those students who need that kind of support. So I can make it bigger, of course. So once again, this is student view. So I click on the sound symbol, and oh, remember I talked about the alternative print. So I can click, and you see how the print changed. So I just, and for grade, this is only for grades 3 through 6. So for grades 3 through 6, I can differentiate my print by making it a lower readability. So you notice that it shrunk because I have less text on the page, and also my vocabulary is controlled. So if I'm a student that is a struggling reader, then I can try to do it on my own, or I can, you know, listen to it as well and just have it read to me.
Steps of a ski jump. Forces at work.
Okay, now, earlier I changed the color. So I went to the little settings next to the sound, and I changed where I wanted my words to be highlighted in red, and I wanted my text to now be in blue, and I also wanted enhanced text visibility, which means that it jumped off the page. And I'm telling you, I'm so fascinated by this. I can even control the speed. I can make it read slower or faster. Like I said, I've never seen this before, but students can control all of this. So I just don't know what other things I can say about it besides the fact that it's just really fascinating. And when you set up your account and start playing around with it, I think it's certain things that if you only have a limited amount of time, like a sales presentation, something like that, to show the district or the teachers, you definitely want to show a student view, because students typically don't have control over what they're receiving or what they're interacting with. And for the upper grades in elementary, I think that this is crucial. I think them being able to control slowing down the print or having it as a call out, or even just changing and modifying the text. So I'm going to read it for comprehension with the modified version, but I still need to know all of this as well. And in the teacher's guide, it does lay all this out for the teachers, that the students have these kinds of options as well, and it keeps reminding them. And just like for the teachers having resources, when the students are in any version of a product, if they're in a book, if they're in an interactive work text, whatever resources that are available are right there at point of reference as well. So this is their lab, if you will, or their interactive activity to UCI. Go ahead.
Kimberly, sorry, just wanted to jump in here really quickly. We've been having some good questions from the chat panel. One was whether or not the computer grades the writing rubric, or if the teacher does, and the answer is that the teacher does. Another question was whether or not the teacher can see their students' notes or highlights, and at this time, no, the teacher cannot see their students' notes or highlights that they make in the text.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Okay, awesome. I know I showed you guys a lot of things at once, and like I said, really with technology all the time, the more you play around with it, that's when you really learn it anyway. But just like with MyNG Connect, there are multiple points of entry for everything, so I can access the building background video and content connections from here, but I can also do it from the resources when I'm in assignments. I can also get them from the library. So, and then my assignments are highlighted right here. So the assignments I gave to my students are also right here. So by clicking on the arrow, these are what they have access to. So this would be blank unless I gave them some assignments. Other than that, they would choose the library to go where they needed to go, because these are selected units that I gave them to do. So that's the reason why they see something here, because of the assignment. So the assignment and the, I guess, overview page of their home page, that's what I'm going to call it. Sure, it's an official term, but the overview that you see right here is directly correlated to the My Assignment that I created for the students. So that's the reason why that's here. If I had no assignments, which when you first create or log in to your account, this won't show anything if they give you a student demo to use, unless you give them some assignments or create a student or however it works. I don't think, and Jenny or Vanessa, correct me if I'm wrong, are we going to be responsible for showing the teachers how to put their students in, or is that something that they will control?
And that would be a digital fulfillment Nikki question, so I'll check in with her on that.
Okay, All right, because I know at the initial training, they showed us how to, you know, manage the course and add students, or, you know, where you would go to do that. But I know that for Mind You Connect, they kind of don't want us touching that anymore either. So I'm kind of having a feeling they probably want us out of that too. But yes, and the question about the grade book and writing assignments and all that stuff, I'm not sure what it's going to look like because of the fact that the grade book is wasn't interactive with us even in the initial meeting. So I don't know if it's going to look similar to Mind You Connect User Management Console, when you can only choose the items that you need to manually score and then it'll repopulate, or if it'll just all show up. So I guess we have to play around with that.
And just to go back to your other question regarding getting the students into the system, they'll be rostered, so the teachers will not be responsible for showing the teachers how to get their students in there. That will be done in advance.
Okay, all right.
Great question.
Awesome. So that takes one less thing off the table as far as that's concerned. So is there anything else anyone wants me to show them in digital while we're here, or because that's basically it. And I hope you're just as excited about it as I am. And because, once again, I was very hesitant with learning a new platform, and I still don't think I know a new platform. I know Panorama in this platform.
Great. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Do we have any other questions? Again, just to be clear on that rostering issue, we're not going to be showing teachers how to get their students into the system. They're going to either be rostered in advance or self-registration, so you don't have to worry about that. And anyone else? Let's just go back to that chat panel, Kimberly, if you can.
All right, I'll stop sharing.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Vanessa. The videos are a great new piece. Awesome. And like we said, this is a brand new program, so this is just the beginning of learning what this program is about and how to use it, and how teachers are using it in the classroom. So there will be more information to come. I would definitely say get a sample bag or get a sampler, go on our ngl.fengage.com website, start looking over there. We'll be pulling resources together too that we'll have on the Educational Consultant website, where you get all the rest of your resources too. And of course, we'll have this webinar too, so that as you're getting up to speed, you have that to refer to. So yeah, and as you go along the way and have questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Nikki, or Denise. And Vanessa, did you have anything else to add either? I think she might be on, I think everybody is on mute. Let's go ahead and unmute quickly. All right, well, have a great afternoon. And thanks for joining.
The leader has disconnected. The conference will be terminated in